everyone is here and you may begin.
For those unfamiliar with these ceremonies, having offered incense, Peg is now preparing the wisdom water to purify the space.
So normally, we would be also offering wisdom water for the participants, and so I'm going to do that virtually now, okay? Okay.
You put your hands in Gasho. Now you offer 3 vows, preceptors, and trustees. Thank you. As further orientation, as we all enter this beautiful and unusual ceremony, sometimes we talk about our practice opening us to a space that is vast, and we are in fact sitting across vast spaces. There is an introduction in the uh, ceremony in which we chant the names of Buddhas and ancestors and renunciation, and there's a period in which we essentially um, engage in the precept ceremony. But there's a bit different because the trustees will each receive their Dharma name, their robe, the Rakusu. They will be offered the precepts once again, and lineage papers. There'll also be a certificate of entrustment which they'll receive. So you'll be seeing all these in order. The second part of the ceremony involves a brief statement by the trustees and inquiry. Senior students from each Sangha will ask questions. And then we'll have some, of course, gratitude and dedication of the ceremony. So that gives you an overall architecture which you can follow in your program if you have it. Thank you. We'll begin with the invocation.
Invoking the presence and compassion of our ancestors, in faith that we are Buddha, we enter Buddha's way. Homage to all Buddhas in the 10 directions. Homage to the complete Dharma in the 10 directions. Homage to every Sangha in the 10 directions. Homage to our first teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to our succession of bodhisattvas and ancestors. Homage to Eihei Dogen Zenshi. Homage to Shogaku Shunryu. Homage to Charlotte Joko Beck. Homage to Blanche Zenke Hartman. May their presence and compassion sustain us now.
Let us recite the names of Buddha. Varyochana Buddha, pure Dharmakaya. Lochana Buddha, complete Sambhogakaya. Shakyamuni Buddha, myriad Nirmanakaya. Maitreya Buddha, of future birth. All Buddhas throughout space and time. Lotus of the wondrous Dharma, Mahayana Sutra. Manjushri Bodhisattva, great wisdom. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, great activity. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, great compassion. All honored ones, Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna Paramita.
Walking the path of the Bodhisattva is accomplished through the spirit and actuality of renunciation. All the Buddha ancestors of the Bodhisattva precept lineage have practiced and are still practicing renunciation of all attachments. Renunciation is an unsurpassable way of harmonizing body and mind with the Buddha way. If one gives up attachments, one is free. One is a Buddha, an awakened one.
To sustain and confirm the practice of the Bodhisattva precepts, where their meaning is in living them, I will now give you anew Buddha's name and robe to clothe you throughout this life, times to come. This is your new name, true family, and dress. Each of the entrustees has an assistant who is preparing the rakusu. I will now offer you your new name, Suzanne. Your name is Zen Shen Myo Do, which translates as whole heart, luminous way. And I think all of us who know Suzanne understand that the heart essence is where she begins, and luminosity is how she proceeds in the world. Zenshin Myodo, whole heart, luminous way. Josh, your name is Taido Shinso, peaceful way, heart essence. And those of us who have appreciated your teachings in the past or through this recent retreat understand deeply your peaceful way and the way in which you come from the heart. That character Shin is in your name, it's in Suzanne's name, it is in my name, and it is in Peg's name. We carry this heart forward together through our names. So the attendants, please bring the rakusus. Incensing. And just slipping it out the side. Open your envelope and retrieve the card. You don't have to unwrap anything, just slide it out. And if you each have your card, so you can chant together 3 times, and you can begin.
O Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, please concentrate your hearts on me. I, Tiger King, Buddha's disciple, robe of 5 men, each made from one long and one short. I will wear this robe of Buddha with the mind and body of a sacred being. O Bodhisattvas,
Wear this robe of Buddha with the mind and body of its sacred meaning. O Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, please concentrate your hearts on me. I, Sinshen Mayodol, Buddha's disciple, receive this robe of 5 panels, each made from one long and one short piece. I will wear this robe of Buddha with the mind and heart of its sacred meaning. O Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas, please concentrate your hearts on me. I, Zenshin Mayodol, Buddha's disciple, receive this robe of 5 panels, each made from one long and one short piece. I will wear this robe of Buddha with the mind and body of its sacred meaning.
Remove the Rakusu from its envelope now. Hold it.
Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being.
Maybe you offer incense once more on your own. You can offer it on your own.
This incense offering signals the wish to receive the precepts by the entrustees. order to be fully awakened in the practice of Buddha's precepts, we start with the pure practice of confession. We have a way of confession transmitted from Buddha through the ancestors to me. Please chant with me. Almighty born through body, speech, and mind, I now
fully avow
all
our ancient hasted karma
from meaningless greed, hate, and delusion,
born
through body,
speech,
and mind, we now fully avow
all
the ancient anger karma, a beginner's greed, hate, and delusion, born through body, speech, and mind, all being now fully devout.
You have gone beyond the karma of body, speech, and mind, and have completed the pure practice of confession. You have been freed from greed, hate, and delusion. O good disciples of Buddha, from now on and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continue this truthful practice?
Yes, I will.
Even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continue this truthful practice?
Yes, I will.
Even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continue this truthful practice?
Yes, I will.
We have purified our mind and body. Now you may receive again the path of the precepts of the three treasures. Thus you are seated with Buddha, and you are really Buddha's child. Will you receive these precepts?
Yes, I will.
And we will begin with the refuges. I take refuge.
Take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. We take refuge in Buddha, immersing body, immersing body and mind deeply in the way, awakening true mind.
We
We take refuge in Dharma, before all being, entering deeply the merciful ocean of Buddha's way. We take refuge in Sangha, before all being, bringing harmony to everyone, free from hindrance. Now all being has completely taken refuge in Buddha. Now all being has completely taken refuge in Dharma. Now all being has completely taken refuge in Sangha.
have returned once more to your original nature, free from attachments and limited ways. From now on, awakening is your teacher. All beings are your teacher. Do not be fooled by other ways. This is the path of compassion for all existence and things. From now on, and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you follow this compassionate path of the three treasures that I am now passing to you?
Yes, I will.
From now on, and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you follow this compassionate path of the three treasures that I am passing to you?
Yes, I will.
I will.
From now on, and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you follow this compassionate path of the three treasures that I am now passing to you?
Yes, I will.
Maintain Gasho. And now will you receive the 3 pure precepts?
Yes, I will.
Repeat after me. I vow to refrain from all harming.
I vow to refrain from all harming.
I vow to do all that is good.
I vow to do all that is good.
I vow to live and be lived for the benefit of all beings.
I vow to live and be lived for the benefit of all beings.
Abiding in these 3 pure precepts, from now on and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continuously observe them?
Yes, I will.
Abiding in the 3 pure precepts, from now on and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continuously observe them?
Yes, I will.
Abiding in the 3 pure precepts, from now on and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continuously observe them?
Yes, I will.
Now will you receive the 10 grave precepts?
Yes.
Yes, I will.
Now will you receive the 10 grave precepts?
Yes, I will.
Now will you receive the 10 grave precepts?
Yes, I will.
So repeat after me. I vow not to kill or harm that which is living.
I vow not to kill or harm that which is living.
I vow not to steal or take what is not freely given.
I vow not to steal or take what is not freely given.
I vow not to misuse sexuality or manipulate others seductively.
I vow not to misuse sexuality or manipulate seductively.
I vow not to lie and to refrain from deception.
I vow not to lie and refrain from deception.
I vow not to intoxicate mind or body of self or others.
I vow not to intoxicate mind or body of self or others.
I vow not to slander or allow silence to harm others.
I vow not to slander or otherwise harm others.
I vow not to praise self at the expense of others.
I vow not to praise self at the expense of others.
I vow not to grasp what I have or be envious of what I don't.
I vow not to grasp what I have or be envious of what I don't.
I vow not to harbor anger or ill will or seek vengeance or retribution.
I vow not to harbor anger or ill will or seek vengeance or retribution.
I vow not to disparage the 3 treasures.
I vow not to disparage the 3 treasures.
Abiding according to the 10 grave precepts, from now on, and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continuously observe them?
Yes, I will.
Abiding according to the 10 grave precepts, from now on, and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continuously observe them?
Yes, I will.
Abiding according to the 10 grave precepts, from now on, and even after realizing Buddhahood, will you continuously observe them?
Yes, I will.
The way you keep precepts should always be like this. Once more, you have received Buddha's precepts and are a child of Buddha. By these acts of invocation, renunciation, confession, purification, taking refuge and receiving the precepts, we become the working basis of the Buddha way. We have become, by those actions, the ground for the arising of the mind of awakening. Now you can continue to really work for all beings and realize Buddha nature as yourself. You yourself and all beings are the Tathagata, to thus come one.
Now, by our sincere actions here, we have become the working basis of the Buddha way, the ground for the arising and establishment of the mind of awakening, bodhicitta. Thus, we are ready to receive the precept lineage of all bodhisattvas. So, Jisha's incense, please, the lineage document.
And now if you'll just place that inside your envelope, the Rakusu envelope. What they just received, we call the Kechimyaku, the blood vein, and list the lineage in which they now find themselves. They'll also receive the certificate of Dharma teacher entrustment. Jishas, will you please bring those? And I will read this so that the participants in the ceremony, all of you, will know what it says. After Suzanne receives hers. That one doesn't need to be incensed. You can just hand it to her. This certificate has at the top appamada, because this is not simply the classical blood vein Kechimyaku of lineage. This is the certificate from Peg and from me and from our Sangha, inviting you and including you as Dharma teacher entrusted. This is what the certificate says. This certificate of Dharma teacher entrustment is given in confirmation of the centrality of the expression of the non-duality of practice and awakening through Zazen and the 16 Bodhisattva precepts, acknowledging and valuing equally the expression of Zen practice in both formal settings and in daily life, and affirming both lay and monastic practice as expressions of the Bodhisattva way. In recognition of having established a daily Zazen practice, receiving the 16 Bodhisattva precepts, having served as head student, given rise to bodhicitta, embodied the Bodhisattva vows, conveyed to others the teaching and practice of the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha, and having above all, through their presence in the world and daily activities as the fundamental teaching mode, demonstrated a mature understanding of the practice and opened the practice for others. We now, with this formal ceremony of Dharma teacher entrustment, honor, celebrate, and affirm the path of serving the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha as a Dharma teacher. And our trust in, and then the Dharma names for each entrustee, the name for Peg and for me and our individual teacher seal. Now, in a classical setting, if we were in a large Buddha hall, this would be intermission. This would be a small break as we would begin to move to the next stage of the ceremony, which we will in fact do now. This initial part echoes the formality of stepping into the vow of following the Buddha's path and our Zen lineage, which you've done when you studied the precepts and when you took precepts or jukai, and having received the rakusus, now it's made formal. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about this part or the transition, Peg?
No, this is, normally they would be resetting the room, so there would be a little bit slightly different configuration for this part of the ceremony. So everyone would have a little break. The assembly would go out on the deck or whatever, and then we'd set up for this part of the ceremony. So.
And we would come back in.
Come back in.
And here we are.
Here we are. So preceptors, put your hands in gasho, and we'll do the Heart Sutra together. Great wisdom beyond wisdom, Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, when deeply practicing Prajnaparamita, clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, and thus relieved all suffering. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself form. Sensations, perceptions, formations, and consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked by emptiness. They neither arise nor cease, are neither defiled nor pure, neither increase nor decrease. Therefore, given emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no sight, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of sight, and no realm of mind consciousness. There is neither ignorance nor extinction of ignorance, neither old age and death, nor extinction of old age and death, no suffering, no cause, no cessation, no path, no knowledge and no attainment. With nothing to attain, a bodhisattva relies on Prajnaparamita, and thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Far beyond all inverted views, one realizes nirvana. All Buddhas, past, present, and future, rely on Prajnaparamita, and thereby attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore know the Prajnaparamita as the great miraculous mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, which removes all suffering and is true, not false. Therefore we proclaim the Prajnaparamita mantra, the mantra that says, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhi Svaha.
Now we will invite each of the entrustees, Suzanne going first, then followed by Josh, just to make a very brief Dharma statement before receiving questions. Suzanne?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My remarks are titled, How Did I Get Here? How did anybody get here? Or how do we get anywhere, actually? I think it's because we answer a call, either from within or out, some impulse. And because of this, we have to be very careful, as the Buddha guided us at the end of his life, with clear, diligent care, So first of all, I want to bow in deepest gratitude to my teachers, Flint and Peg here, and acknowledge that I am standing and living on sacred Ho-Chunk land here in Madison. So the stimulus for my ongoing practice here comes from a poem, actually, of David White's. It's the poem, "Everything is Waiting for You." It wakes me to the truth and what is right in front of me. So I'll begin my remarks, more remarks with that. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime, with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors are always been there. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the goodness in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. I grew up on a farm here in the Midwest. I'm a farm girl at heart. That's what attracted me to Soto Zen, this simple, basic, close-to-the-earth practice, I guess. I didn't want to live that farm life, though, and so when I went off to college, I intended to move on and didn't know what that would look like. I grew up in a Christian religion like many of us, Catholicism. If I could have seen the truth in myself then, I would have seen that I didn't fit there. I tried hard, even working for the church for several years, but the truth is I have never been attracted or guided by dogma. I have always needed to seek and know the truth through experience. I began meditating 40 years ago out of desperation, not an uncommon experience that brings one to practice. My life felt out of control and anxiety was a constant companion. I moved around and trained in a variety of forms, which was my tendency at the time, taking in a lot, seeing where it landed. There was so much to experience, but I didn't let myself land anywhere for very long. I thought I might miss out on something. Then in the early 2000s, while practicing with another Mahayana Sangha, I attended a workshop with a teacher who called me into deeper practice in a way I hadn't experienced before. I was at the end of my PhD coursework, trying not to go crazy with learning how to write a dissertation. And something inside of me said, listen to this teacher, see what he has to say, but most of all, notice what you experience in his presence. And I stayed put and allowed myself to go deep as deep as I could in experiencing this wonderful, rich, messy life. And thus my relationship with Flint began. And here I am today, with great wonder and humility, sitting in this seat of entrustment in the Appamada Soto Zen tradition. As I said in my talk on Friday morning, I've been living with the thought, practice, and experience of entrustment over some time now. It's brought up many questions, and I've learned a number of things, some of them quite obvious to many of you, I'm sure. Here they are. We're entrusted with our life every day. It's ours to live and be in charge of. How am I going to approach this responsibility? We're entrusted with the care and support of the people around us. Some we have chosen, others are just part of our life. How am I going to treat them from the perspective of entrustment? We're entrusted with our work in the world. How do I bring my best self to what I offer so that I grow through what I do and offer goodness to the world? We're entrusted with what we don't want, what we haven't asked for, what we would prefer wasn't part of our life. Illness, economic struggle, significant losses, deep hurts, and deep sorrows. All manner of personal and cultural challenges that confront us daily. How do I face and be with all these challenges in a way that acknowledges and celebrates life as it arises? How can I meet all of this intimately, moving close in? Last spring, with the murder of George Floyd, our cultural consciousness took a big leap into awareness of the brutal injustices of racism and racial disparity. Like many of us, this jarred me awake to the truth and power of white supremacy and my complacency with it. I turned toward my experience of deep sorrow and regret and became willing to ask uncomfortable questions. How was I participating in maintaining the status quo of cultural systemic racism? What kept me blind and numb to the truth of obvious racial disparity? What kept me from acting for justice more fully? How do I bring my bodhisattva vow to bear on the issue of white supremacy and systemic racism and abuse? I didn't ask these questions alone. I couldn't. Through the summer, a group of us began our study, reading and discussing with as much honesty and vulnerability as we could, challenging ourselves to face hard truths of our participation in white body trauma and subsequent supremacy, black body trauma and subsequent devaluing, and police body trauma and subsequent abuses of power. I bring this up today because not far from here, in our state of Wisconsin, there are protests continuing to happen in response to yet another killing and seemingly unjust determination of responsibility. So I'm asking, what am I being entrusted with today? How can I participate in bringing justice to bear? How can I bring compassion in action to all those involved? As you can tell, I'm a questioner. I seek to listen to and create questions that lead to responses, that open life, that bring what is good and true and beautiful into the light of being. Good questions will bring up the muck and sludge of long-standing demands, denials, and distractions, the beginningless greed, hate, and delusion of our human condition. There isn't any way around this. Our practice helps us face what is true and expand our capacity for our human experience. There is also no perfecting it. This is it, life as it is. But there is guidance. The Dharma of how to attend to what is true and how to bring that into expression. I think these and many other learnings are what our Zen ancestors wanted as they passed the teachings forward. I think this is what our contemporary ancestors wanted for us as they left us with guidance. John Lewis and Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Mary Oliver come to mind. He, a civil rights activist and congressman, she, a Supreme Court justice, and she, a renowned poet. But most of all bodhisattvas of our time. They left us with legacies of love in action. From John, written a few days before he died on July 17th, he said, "Though I may not be here with you, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring." Ruth lived a life of acting on her highest intentions and aspirations. She said simply, "Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." Mary Oliver, a woman after my own inquiring heart, asked a most powerful question that guides me daily. Tell me, she said, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? All of them are entrusting us to pay attention, to live wholeheartedly, to live close to the bone and bloodline of ancestors, whatever that line is, to bear witness, to bring an open and free mind, and to act for what is true, right, and ultimately good. They have all left us, but they are with us too, in their example of life, their guidance, and their teachings. As Flint reminded us last evening, there is no way to be apart. We carry our ancestors and each other in our hearts as we are carried in theirs and in each other's hearts. Forgive me if I've rambled on here for a bit. I feel and experience so much sitting in this seat here today. I want you most to know that I will do my best to give and receive love in all forms, trying to attend to what is most important each day and in each interaction. Thank you for loving me and for your aspiration to bring harmony to everyone, free of hindrance. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, this function to express my love for you. There is a line from a favorite poem by Marie Howe. I could die being loved like this. I trust I will. I trust that this love will carry me forward, and when I leave my body and our precious planet, I aspire to leave the traces of abundant love I've received and all that I've been given.
You me? Can you hear me? Yeah. About an hour before the ceremony, Trudy asked me how I was doing. And I said, I'm really struggling with this. This is really hard. And I said, but it'll be good. It'll be fine. She said, I'm really glad you said that, because that's the truth of the matter at this particular moment. But I knew that it would be taken care of, that we would move through this together. And I think the process over the last hour for me is really a great example of our practice. I said in a talk yesterday that we learn like a baby bird learning to fly, or a baby learning to walk. And in the last hour, I've really felt the vulnerability and the wonder of not quite knowing what's happening, of trying to work out from 5 screens what's happening, to attune myself to you, Suzanne, and to look at our teachers to see where we're going. And also, I've been very aware of Jessica's beautiful photograph on the screen, a constant warm gaze to just hold me there. I feel very touched to have been put in a position as an emerging teacher of completely not knowing, but trusting this process with great wonder. And also I've had my wonderful partner Trudy, who's been here all the time. I can feel her presence now. And there's something about the community of Appamada and the way we express this teaching that is so embodied in this wonderful, imperfect ceremony where we're trying to reach out across space and time, where it's hard not to meet, but sometimes it's hard to be completely on time with each other. So that's my journey in the last 2 hours of real, I'm not liking this. This is hard. I'm going to do it. I say yes to it, and let's see what happens. And that's what's unfolded. So I have much gratitude and such appreciation for our teachers in offering us this at this time in this way through this medium. And I think now we're supposed to say, bring me your questions.
Hello, Kim.
Thank you.
Hello, Josh. This is a question for both of you. Suzanne, if you could answer first. Or I'll say Zenshin Myodo. How can a lotus bloom or bodhicitta arise, as is on your certificate, in the midst of the fires that you talked about, Suzanne, or that you expressed feeling, Josh? Or Taido Shinso?
Kim, I think that the coolness of the community of the Sangha, and I mean coolness in the best possible way, we protect each other in these fires. As long as we keep turning toward each other to get nurturing and nourishment, and then turn back out to what's showing up. I haven't found any other way of being with the fires that are burning than to make contact in some way, or to think, to know when I am sitting that I am not ever sitting alone, that there is somebody sitting in the community or in the greater country or the greater world who is sitting with me and practicing with me. And that provides me protection from burning myself.
A great question, Kim. My feeling is to just do the next thing. To have the vow for the lotus to bloom, of course. But what's the next thing? What's the next small thing that can really open up the lotus to slowly bloom? It could be something really small, picking a piece of plastic up in the street so a bird doesn't get caught on it. It's like each step of the way is the way. So keeping the big vow and the next thing, the next small kind action, I would suggest. Hello, Catherine. You're muted at the moment.
Hello.
Hello.
Now? Okay. Hi, Josh and Suzanne. I'm so happy to be a part of your entrustment ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm aware that while we live in different parts of the world, we share a moon. And I thought about that last night. Last year, Mickey Jo Smith and I shared the role of head student. But since Mickey Jo does not have a relationship with technology, I will ask his question after I ask mine. So my question, and I direct it first to Suzanne, my friend and teacher. We live in a world full of three poisons: the greed, hate, and delusion, which you addressed a bit with your talk already. My question to you is, how do you live a life to realize and actualize the Dharma and to free all sentient beings from suffering? And Suzanne, I know that you work hard at this, and I want you to share your practice and your way. And then, Josh, I would also like to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Catherine. I rise very early in the morning. I begin my practice with my wonderful partner, Steve. We move first or sit, or we sit first and then move. I read and I study. I've been reading Pema Chodron's book, When Difficult Things Happen. I read it the weekend of 9/11 was the last time I read it. I thought it was the right book to read this summer. I have pictures of Suzuki Roshi, of Flint, of Blanche on my wall above my altar. I look at them every day so that I know that they are always with me. I think of our Sangha every day. I say my prayers for everybody every day. And then I go about my life trusting that I have infused everything that I'm going to do or be presented with that energy. How can it not be? I know it's not me. I know that there's something that occurs in practice. As Josh just so beautifully said, always having in front of me, what's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Thank you.
We've just had these beautiful vows, Catherine, that we can always just keep returning to. We can return to one, we can return to many, and really keep them constantly in our heart in a kind way. I also, when you were talking about the photograph of Suzuki Roshi, Suzanne, I don't know who wrote this. It might have been David Chadwick, but apparently he had sort of one eye that was his serious eye, and one was his playful eye. And one of the things I love about him as a teacher is the flow between seriousness and playfulness. And I think sometimes we can get really things. I said yesterday, we can make things into a project rather than just moving with the next thing, this thing, whatever this is now. And I love the way that sometimes if people got really serious, he would move to playfulness and back to seriousness if things became too loose. So something about that kind of middle middle way where we take care of ourselves and we take care of our vows to support all beings with that playfulness and energy and purposefulness.
Thank you, Josh. So I'll read the question from Mickey Joe. And he starts with a quote by Larry Young. Dharma practice is a process of moving through and healing from the 10,000 sorrows of our life. He then goes on to write, unlike the lovely woman from Austin who describes herself as an angry Buddha, I am sad and scared Buddha. I have many times experienced a focused, limited fear, like driving winter roads in Wisconsin. And I have experienced focused, sad, limited sadness, like when I left my Peace Corps post after 2 glorious magical years. This is different. I fear we will lose our lovely, nurturing environment. And I fear we are in danger of losing our long effort to create an approximate experience of civil democracy, fumbling and stumbling, though as it has been for 400 years. The weight and emotional congestion of this enclosing and tightening fear is suffocating. If I were to ask a question of Suzanne and Josh, it would be, how does the study of the Dharma and Zazen help with this sadness and fear? And then he goes on to say, I am deeply blessed by Sangha and how this lovely, and now this bow to a lovely gift of entrustment. Mickey Joe.
First of all, I want to thank Mickey Joe for that wonderful teaching. And then I remember the very first time that Flint said to us in a retreat, we don't practice just to practice and just for ourselves. We practice so that we can face life off the cushion. I thought that was rather cute at the time. But it was a very fierce teaching because it meant facing fears and scares and icy roads and dark nights of the soul and everything else. And I knew I couldn't do it alone. And so I offer doing it together, moving in close, recognizing the intimacy of our own feelings and knowing that we're not the only ones with those feelings. In my life, I've had bouts of pretty severe insomnia, and some of the guidance I received, which was the best always, is when I was lying awake or sitting up awake at night, was to remember I was not the only one awake. And then I didn't feel so alone. And while I wasn't falling back to sleep or able to sleep, I was comforted by knowing I wasn't alone. It didn't take the feeling away of everything, and it was shared, and that mattered a lot.
Thank you from Mickey Joe.
I would want to echo your thoughts and feelings, Suzanne. We need connection to particularly at this time and in your country with the difficulties that you're experiencing. And things here are really troubled too. Mirrors a lot of what's happening for you. And the fact that we have people who will listen and care for us and hold our hearts at a difficult time when there's appears to be very unclear ways forward is so valuable. So I would, like tonight, you know, as soon as I saw everybody on the screen, I thought this will be okay. We can do this. But there's something about, you know, constantly reaching out and also providing a warm hand for others. It's really, really difficult time.
Thank you, Josh from Mickey Joe.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. Oh, okay. I see
Hello,
my.
Kathy.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I see a little rectangle, and that's good. First of all, I want to express my gratitude. I'm just experiencing such joy being here together and kind of being and belonging here together. So thank you so much. My question is for both Suzanne and Josh. And, so we're taught not to make things personal. And I came across that the other day when I was putting papers away, and I paused and I said, you know, I'm not sure I know what that means, not to make things personal. And so I bring that question to each of you today. What does it mean to you? And how do you practice it? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, Kathy, thank you so much for being my geisha today. Jisha today. It's been wonderful having you here in the fraught space and being able to do the ceremony with you. It really has felt like a ceremony here because of you and fraught. I don't know how to not take things personally. What I do know is how to work with myself when I do take things personally. Because I have deep respect for the nanosecond quickness of our nervous system pattern conditioned responsiveness or reactivity. And one of the things that our study this summer in White Body Supremacy with you, Kathy, is a reinforcement for me of how to deeply respect our patterns, our activations, and to turn toward them immediately with compassion and love. And saying, you know, creating a new conversation with ourselves as in, they're there, this is not about you, and you are participating in it. They're there, you learned this, and you can unlearn it, it'll take you time. And that's okay, and you have friends on the path with you. That our teachings from Flint and from Peg in internal family systems has helped tremendously in recognizing those small parts of me and how they so quickly jump to the front of the bus, try to take over the driver's seat. And I just turn toward them and say, no, I'm staying here, and you can sit right behind me, and or even sit on my lap and we'll drive together, because it's not that kind of bus where it's unsafe. Thank you for that question, Kathy.
I don't know, I think it was Flint who said, you know, don't take it personally, even if it's meant.
Right. Yeah.
And for me, sometimes a humour can melt some of my self-centered dream. And I can then have a kind conversation with myself without myself centered. That kind of feeling, oh, here I go again. Same old story.
Mhm.
Old sensitivity. And kind of taking great care of it as you would maybe a child.
Mm.
Way that actually soothe it and support it to just move its course. One thing I think, you know, even in a sangha, maybe particularly in a sangha, there will be um, triggers, um, problems. Um, and people often say, you know, I want this to be a safe space. But I think the most important thing about our community is it a safe enough space to explore? Sorry, you're muted.
You're breaking up a lot, and so I've been asked to remind you to please speak more loudly because the audio is cutting out.
So I was saying that within our communities, we will get triggered. There will be difficulties. And is our community not a safe space, but a safe enough space to explore the edges of where we meet other people? I did a retreat a couple of years ago called Standing at the Edge. How we meet those edges of triggering and taking things personally in a safe enough space in our community. So we know that we're safe and we know that we can explore it.
One moment, I have to turn the thermostat down. It's gotten quite hot in here.
Hello, Trudy.
Hello. Hi, Suzanne. So I too feel incredibly touched and blessed to be part of this. And I'm very fortunate to be in a room with a warm body, with a warm hand. So thank you. My question was originally for Josh, but I'd love to hear your answer, Suzanne. You've used reading, you've dived deep into the wisdom of others, and I've really felt how that's touched you and how you've learned. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts about how I might deepen my practice. And Suzanne, I really heard how your dedication, and I just wondered what you would say about how to move practice even more centrally into your life.
Josh, I'll defer to you first.
I know that Trudy's said you've never read so much about anything as you have about Zen. I have a lot of Zen books on my shelf, and I've never read as much as I've read about Zen. And I think I've found something that really, really touches me. I read books more than once, maybe twice, 3 times, and I come back to them because I feel that they live inside me. So it's not academic. It feels like I'm having a relationship with the writer in the way that I come to retreats and I hear the teachings, and referring to yesterday, they wash inside me and outside me and around me. So books are like having great Dharma friends that are there. Yeah. So question or
I'm a little jealous of your Dharma friends, so I was looking for some support for
Right.
how I might too have Dharma friends like that.
I listened to your two poems this weekend, read so beautifully by Flint, and it feels like those expressions are also Dharma friends. So something about finding those Dharma friends through the things that touch you.
First of all, Trudy, I'm humbled by your question. Your poetry takes me to the center of practice. I don't understand it a lot of the time. I don't understand a lot of poetry. It doesn't matter to me whether or not I understand it. What really matters to me, and I don't mean that necessarily personally, but that it washes, it pierces my heart. And when I feel something piercing my heart, I get a sense that I'm at the center of something. A couple of weeks ago in Inquiry, Flint asked us to, well, he told the story of Trungpa Rinpoche saying to a student, practice was walking between hope and despair right into the face of uncertainty. And that blew my mind. And I knew I was at the center of something. And so your question to what takes me there? Letting myself be in the presence of people like you and in the presence of my teachers and listening carefully and talking with my friends or sitting with them. Thank you.
Hi, Catherine.
I'm so touched to be here, and I feel overwhelmed with gratitude. I don't know you, Suzanne, yet, but I feel I do now. Thank you for revealing so much about yourself. I'm going to ask my question to Josh, and I hope that you will join in responding. Dear Josh, I had thought to ask you, I had thought to say to you how inspiring I find it that you so generously embody the Dharma. And I wanted to ask you what practices you use to help with that. But I think you've been answering that the entire time. And I think Suzanne has too. So thank you for that. So I'm going to ask something else. As this year's head student in Britain, I'm still waiting to be claimed by a koan. I'm putting myself in the way of them. I'm reading them, but as yet, I haven't been claimed by one. And I just wondered what you could say to me about that, and about I'm curious to know which koan claimed you, and how you worked with it. Thank you.
It's a great question. It sounds to me, how do how do we actually apprehend anything that's in this world that is waiting to meet us, whether it's a koan in a book or a bird singing in the garden. You have a beautiful garden, a plant waiting to be put in the soil. So it's a vast question you're asking. And specifically with koans, I think, it's really important to be patient, and to sometimes just wait for the koan to arrive. There'll be one waiting for you to to meet you. And there are very different ways that you can kind of relate to each collection of koans, and what page you turn to. You can look at the titles and see what draws you in. The one that I chose for my head student completion ceremony was Yeo Shan's The Elk of Elks, which is, how do you shoot the elk of elks? And it was about how do you go beyond just thinking of practice in the way of bringing comfort and consolation. How do you shoot the big one? So it's not about shooting deer, but it's like if you really want to go for it, how do you do that? And that really interested me, because this practice does bring us great comfort and great connection. But I remember Flint talking about another koan where a teacher takes a group to a place where they're really happy, and then he says, well, it's nice here, but this isn't it, there's more. So for me, that was the one that I really immersed myself in for my head student completion, because for me it would be very easy to stay with it being consolatory. I remember Flint saying practice is not consolation, although it can be very nice. So just be really patient, just as you are with your garden,
Thank you, Josh.
Catherine, I was walking with a friend the other day after we completed our walking meditation around the Arboretum grounds here in Madison. She asked me how I was doing in my preparation for entrustment. And I knew I had to tell her the truth. And what I said to her, and this is the koan, I want attention, like all human beings need attention, but I don't want to be noticed. And she laughed and she said to me, that's your koan. And I went, okay. I mean, oftentimes my entrance into the deeper truths are through the psychological level of life. That's my training. But I thought of it often in the last few days. And I've turned it a bit as to how can I pay attention and to the details and be aware, be noticing the bigness, being noticing of big mind, the shift between the relative and the absolute. That's what I've got right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
A little better.
Hello, Joel.
Hello. May I start?
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to meet you. And I've seen Suzanne before, but I don't think we've ever conversed before, Josh. Please go ahead.
I've seen you in your Entrustment book.
Ah, beautiful book. Well, I want to thank Suzanne and Josh. Thank you so much for your wonderful statements, for these wonderful answers that you've been giving to these excellent questions, and for your presence. Of course, the previous questioners have used up all the questions I wanted to ask, but I will press on and end up with a plea at the end. You have been given a new name, a new true family, a new dress, and you have made vows of epic, cosmic import. And clearly, you're serious about that from the way you answer questions. And I just want to say how much I appreciate that. I want to say how much it means to me that I have Sheen in the name that I was entrusted with, and that I'm connected with Peg and Flint and both of you and all the others who share that wonderful character in their name, and how much it means. And I want to say that you've already talked about living in this world of beauty and wonder and fear and grasping, and what it is to move through those and to enact those in your life. And in my case, I'm very much grappling with being embedded and complicit in the systems that sustain and empower those things that seem to produce so much suffering. And I just want to say that I have a plea, which is I want to connect with you. I want to connect with your communities and to know you better, and to stand in your presence. And as we are all now standing in the presence of countless ancestors and sentient beings and good-hearted bodhisattvas and everybody. And that's it. That is my plea. Please help me do what I can to connect with you so that we can grow our Sangha all together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel. And that's also been in my thoughts when I became aware of you, and as I move through this process and have these deeper connections with all you at Appamada. So very much would love to do that.
Joel, I was at your entrustment in spirit. I had all my plans in place for coming to Austin that weekend, and it happened to be the only weekend that we could have a sewing retreat to add a line of stitches that the Sangha could add a line of stitches to my Rakusu. And so I decided not to come, and given what we know now, I have regrets. Because I thought I can come another time and do a retreat there, you know. Well, there we go. Life shows up in different ways. But it has been on my mind as well to connect. And I fully trust that that will happen. Thank you for your plea. Thank you for your request. And thank you for welcoming me and us.
I think Lori is next.
having a bit of trouble getting Lori unmuted or to turn her camera on. Lori, can you hear us? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring Todd up, and maybe he can ask his question and then Lori can go.
There she is.
Sorry.
Hi, Laurie.
Hi there. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all celebrating this day. And I so appreciate also getting to meet you, Josh. This is the first time I've met you. I've been hearing about you for years, and so it's a delight. Oh, there's Todd too. Hey, Todd. Can I go first and then you go? Okay, thank you. And Suzanne, I think I met you a million years ago in Lotus Lake. So it's been a long time, but it's good to see you again. So like Joel, my question has been taken, and the one I made for that, I made it another one, and that one was taken. So I'll just kind of ad lib here. I guess the question that I really have is has to do with the situation that we're in right now, the last several months since COVID began and changed our lives. Probably there's a lot of different emotions that have come up in respect to that, and you addressed fear, and anger was in there, a couple of them. And I'm wondering if, and I guess this goes to both of you, if you've during this time come to a point of overwhelm or of so much that seems to be going on at the same time. And if so, if there one particular practice or something in particular that you do to kind of settle yourself again and come out of that, or I don't know, you may not feel that way and overwhelmed from these things.
I do feel that way, and I back away. I try not to have it be escaping away, but recognizing that our systems are not created for this. They're just not. We're tender, vulnerable beings, organisms, and we need to watch ourselves carefully about how much we let ourselves take in. There's a lot of toxicity out there. Yeah. And I know that I want to be a balance of informing myself so that I know what to offer myself to, and also recognize that I have my limits, and those limits need to be honored. And so I sit in my front garden, I go walking, I practice my Qigong on the lake shore that I live near. I try mostly to get quiet, although I know that that's not always the easy thing for me to do because I'm rather gregarious, just a wee bit. And I like to be, connected and out there. But I've learned to be quiet. And especially this week, I made a commitment to do walking meditation every day at sites around the city. And that's been so helpful to do by myself, or the last couple of days with invitation to whoever wanted to come. And it turned out that many people wanted to come and walk safely with protections. And it was really so tender and loving in our hearts, in my heart. Thank you for that question, Mary.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hear Josh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
One of the things that delights me is the emails you send out every
Oh.
3 weeks. And I've been meaning to write to you to say how much I enjoy them. And I copy and paste some of the poems you send and the thoughts, and they really touch my heart. So that's one of the lovely things that touches me at this time. And this weekend has been quite hard for Trudy and I because of our family in relation to my daughter's about to give birth to twins, going into hospital, and my son's not so well. He might have COVID-19. So it's very, very much here. One of the things I really enjoy doing is when I go into a big store, it's a bit like going into a Zendo. Somebody greets you and they give you the gel, and you kind of feel it's really hard for them. So I want to say hello and welcome them, like it's almost like a bow. Because you're around one way, it's like being in a Zendo. You watch out for the people and take care of them and be kind. So it's finding little places and practices where we can be kind, and actually it's very it all comes back to us in that way that it does when we're in the Zendo. So that's one of my little practices in supermarkets.
I love that. Thank you very much.
Hi, Todd.
Oh, congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Watching this very carefully planned, intricate ceremony, along with all of the gifts you've been presented, the Sangha is bestowed on you with such care. It really seems to be representing that you've been given something special. My question is, does one know what it is? And if not, how does one pass it along?
Todd, I wanted to ask you that.
Nope, this is you're on the hot seat this time.
Okay. I don't have words to what I feel I've been given, and feel is even an inaccurate word. I have this sense in my whole being of something. And I know that there isn't a prescription about how to gain enlightenment or whatever that is. And who said that enlightenment or nirvana is an accident, but practice makes us accident prone? I don't know. And maybe this is the approaching something with an I don't know mind. And it requires just paying attention to what is here and recognizing that I was drawn to something that Flint brought to me and to us. And then he shared Peg with us and with me, and has shared you and the others, Appamada, with us. And what keeps expanding has value to me. There's no constriction or contraction here. And that's one of the things that I notice.
Roshi said of Dogen, that Dogen wanted to be a good disciple from the bottom of his heart. And that has always really struck me as a practice orientation, to be a good student of your teacher and to deepen the connection with your teacher as the embodiment of the Buddha way, of the lineage. And I know something has shifted and changed and moved, but I couldn't tell you exactly what. But it can be realized and known, I think. And perhaps we will spend the rest of our lives exploring what that is, Todd. It provides a great continuous practice opportunity to keep moving forward, warm hand in warm hand.
Thank you for being willing to carry it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of the questioners. And if each of you, Josh, Trudy, and excuse me, Suzanne, I'm so used to saying Josh and Trudy, Josh and Suzanne, if you'd like to say just a little something, what's the impression that this has had thus far? You've already said it a bit. Is there anything else you'd like to say, and any um, statements of gratitude you'd like to make?
I'm breathing again deeply and so grateful of such a rich community, of such rich connections, and the willingness to be intimate about our wonderings and our vulnerabilities. On that level, when we're surrounded with people like that, what I am, it makes it so much easier to be here. And that's my intention in bringing myself to everybody. So I'm very grateful. I could not picture what this would be like, especially with the technology, and now I have that experience. I'm glad for it. Thank you.
Very grateful. Opened up for me, and I'm enormously grateful to our community for making this event happen, for offering entrustment to Suzanne and to me. And I hope that we will repay that in the way that we offer this practice, warm hand to warm hand, in the coming years.
One of the delightful things that I think we're going to offer some support and congratulations, Peg and I. One of the delightful things for me is to see these Dharma siblings who during the year 2020 have all been entrusted by Peg and by me, but also by the Sangha, really, by the larger community we've officiated. It's always said that it's the students who make the teachers. It's not because Peg and I say so. It's not because you say so, certainly. It's because other people have decided to follow you in some way because they see something that inspires them and calls them forward. It's lovely to see that in the two of you, and lovely to see the other entrustees as your family, and those others who have been head student and may in fact follow you at some point. It's as Peg and I get older, she may say something about this too, but it's like our children. We see the beauty of you taking on and following and carrying forward what we've done. I want to say a special thank you to several people, and hopefully I won't miss too many, and Peg can help me if I do. One person that you won't see is Anne Johnson, who was a sewing teacher, who helped mightily with both entrustees in the preparation of their Buddha's robes. She's a wonderful teacher in her own way and put in countless hours, a lot of attention and commitment to make sure that these things happen. Then, of course, there's Jessica, whose face we're able to see here, and Eileen, Jessica Steinbaumer, Eileen Kilfer, Efrat Livni, and others who, Kathy Rashke here, who have helped manage the technology so we can have this ceremony at all, and to hold it together and to fashion the things that need to be there to hold it together. So I certainly thank all of them. I thank also Trudy, who is Josh's teaching partner, as well as lifelong partner. And as we've heard this week, you can feel the teacherliness in her coming forward through her poetry and other ways. Thank her for her support. And of course, Steve also assisting, Suzanne, necessary support during all of this, and everyone else in all of the sanghas who have helped out. And most potently, none of this could be happening without my partnership with Peg Syverson and her beautiful teaching and leadership, her brilliant innovations which have allowed some of these things to actually occur, the long partnership which continues, and the steady teachings that keep both of us alive in the Dharma between the two of us, which is really a huge gift. So I say, welcome.
Well, I couldn't be more pleased by the way these sanghas are being knit together across all this distance, and through the inspired leadership of you coming forward as teachers, how much that means in the establishment of continuity in those sanghas and support for practitioners, and also support for those of us here. So it's wonderful to know that you're there, that you have the tremendous capacities and skills that you have in teaching, but also that the Sangha benefits so much from that quality of care and leadership that you're able to provide and have provided for many years. So this is a ceremonial way of recognizing what's already been happening, but the joy for me is to see the way these sanghas, it's such a distance, such an incredible distance, are suddenly very close. And we have Sangha members attending each other's events and activities, and I couldn't be happier, because this is really developing resilience and strength and support across the board. So for me, this is a great joy. My teaching partnership with Flint has been just an incredible gift in my life, and also the synergy sort of that we've cultivated together has made it possible for us to really think in these sort of systemic terms about how we really bring the Dharma into contemporary life. So I appreciate so much your faith and trust and willingness to walk this path with us, and to show your care, not only for your Sangha, but also for these teachings and for us, and your trust. So that means a lot to me, and I'm very grateful. And I have met Suzanne. I haven't had a chance to meet with you, Josh. I feel like we got robbed a little bit there for that opportunity, but I look forward to being there as soon as it's safe to do so. And I know that your sanghas are going to really prosper. I'm going to hold out the possibility to you that we might consider forming a teachers' council, so that all the teachers could have an opportunity to come together and meet online, and maybe someday in person, So that we can share what we're learning and develop together. So that's my thought. That might be something that we can put together. So
I think a teacher retreat in the Lake District would be great.
I think that's a very good plan. A very, very good plan. So thank you. I have really deep appreciation. I often say there is no such thing as a teacher without students. There are students without a teacher, but there's just no such thing as a teacher without students. So thank you for being willing to step up and be those students to begin with and teachers on the second hand. So it's a delight, just a delight.
I'll say one more practicality before we offer the dedication, because I'd like the dedication to stand on its own without more discourse afterwards, and then we'll slowly say goodbye. What normally would happen after the dedication is that there'd be an invitation to a reception, and we'd come together with beautiful food and a cake and something to drink, and we would talk and celebrate, and now things are just going to go offline. So we've done what we can do online. You can use the chat function right now if you want to send congratulations to the two entrustees, and we will make a copy of and maintain what's in the chat and then share it with them. So please type in anything you'd like as a congratulations. There are listservs or email ways of communicating with the Open Doors Zen community and with Just This in the UK, certainly with Appamada, and you can send congratulations in that way as well. And of course, there are the personal connections that I hope you'll make with each of these wonderful people as best we can in the ways that we can. And just like Peg said, you know, I feel like we got robbed to not be able to come and be with each Sangha, but you get robbed because you don't get celebrated in quite the little fun way at the end. But hopefully you can feel it in some ways.
We'll have to save that reception for when we can be together.
Yeah. Very good.
So we will have a dedication that will come from Kathy and Trudy, and then we'll do 3 bows at the end.
Okay. Dedication of merit. May our intention equally extend to every being and place, I'm sorry, I'm going to start again. May our intention equally extend to every being and place with the full merit of Buddha's way.
All Buddhas, 10 directions, 3 kinds, all beings, bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, mahaprajna paramita.
Bye, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.